Hey, what's up, my friends? You ever think like the whole idea of common sense means like everybody does that or everybody must do it? And that's exactly what that means. It's common sense. Of course you're going to do it. But the truth is, in business, there's a lot of things that are common sense that a lot of people just don't do, and it causes them to lose money, lose customers, lose clients. So today I'm going to go into 10 uncommon sense success strategies to get you ahead in business. Hey, what's up, my friend? Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to a fun episode. And I think this episode talking about uncommon sense success strategies that do absolutely get you ahead in business. I don't know, sometimes people say like nice guys finish last. I think, all of these principles, all these strategies that I'm going to share with you in today's episode are things that I've done in my life over the last 30 plus years that have served me well, and I feel like they've aided me in becoming very successful. So I just think that oh man, I don't know. What I find a lot of these as we go through them, and there's going to be 10 of them that I'm going to cover in this episode. You would think like, oh, well, that's common sense. Like, of course you would do that. Like, yeah, duh. But what I find is people don't do it, and and I want you to think about this as I start to go through here. I want you to think about, okay, well, do I do this, or have I had people do this, the opposite of this to me? And how did that make me feel about them? Because again, a lot of this, not everything on here, but a lot of this, well, probably all of it, goes to the underlying premise that people enjoy doing business with individuals that make them feel good. And, you guys have, if you follow me for a while, heard me use the phrase like, and this isn't something I made up, but the truth is like people do business with individuals that they like and they trust and they feel good about. And especially in any kind of sales, whether it's direct selling, traditional selling, whether it's B2B, B2C, the individual who's, pulling out their wallet and their credit card, they want to feel valued. They want to feel appreciated. They don't want to be perceived as someone who, they're just I got a dollar sign tattooed to my forehead, and the moment that I walk out the door, you're just like, yeah, high-fiving your bros like you made a sale, and they feel, even potentially mistreated. I mean, how many times, for example, have you been in a situation where you did business with someone and they got your money, but you don't go back and you're like, okay, they got my money once, but they're not getting my money again. And again, this is all about longevity, long-term success, long-term relationships. And, I think you're going to find these things useful. Chances are you might be doing a lot of these things. And if you are, that's great. Then you're probably business is going well for you. So, all right, so we're going to go into 10 of these uncommon success strategies. Okay, so number one is prompt communication. Okay. Somebody sends you a text message. You get the text message. I mean, there's no question. Like, people get their text messages within seconds. Like, if right now I'm sitting here as this video is being recorded, and I got my phone here, I'm not going to answer a text message, but I know that a text message came through. Now, an email is a little bit different because I got to go into my email account and I got to look at the emails, but smart business people also look at their emails on a consistent and regular basis. Somebody calls you and, leaves you a voicemail message. I'm talking about people that, you do business with or may want to do business with. I suppose you could be, the kind of person where I don't really want to do business with this guy. For me, if somebody messages me on Instagram, which I get a lot of people propositioning me for stuff on Instagram as an example, many of whom I don't do business with, I still have the respect, even though it could be a cold message out of the blue. I just say, look, man, I got enough on my plate already. I appreciate the reach out. Thanks for thinking of me. I mean, how long does that take me to do that? It takes me seconds to do it. Now, this is somebody who, I still treat people that are messaging me some cold message with some degree of respect, but then you got business partners, potential business partners, customers, clients, and those people deserve some type of prompt response. Look, I get it that sometimes we get really, really busy. But nothing wrong with sending a quick text back. I got your text, brother, and I'm slammed today. Let me get back to you tomorrow. That to me shows a degree of respect that, is going to help you go a long ways in business. Versus, and then the other thing is, especially when somebody has read receipts turned on, like for example, I send you a text message. I can see that you read the text message. You can see when somebody receives and reads your Facebook message, and then to not respond, I just think is, I don't know. I don't think that's a good habit. I won't be super negative about that, but to me, like, that's super disrespectful. I don't like it when people do that. There are times when I'm busy, but I make it a habit to get back to people in a timely manner. I mean, if you've done business with me, if you reached out to me on text, email, whatever, phone call, that you get a call back, or you get a text back, or you leave me a voicemail message, and I don't have the time to get back to you, I'll fire back a quick text and go, look, man, I'm slammed. I'm doing video production all day today, or whatever I'm doing, and Tuesday or Wednesday is better. Why don't you put it in your calendar to reach back out to me on Wednesday, and then let's connect. It just, I don't know, it just takes you a long way. So prompt communication is a powerful way to get you ahead in business. All right, let's talk about number 2, punctuality. I don't know, like my mom taught me, like, be on time. If you have an appointment and the appointment's at 9 o'clock, you're there by 9 o'clock, not at 9 o'clock. I mean, sometimes maybe, but you're not there at 9:15. The idea of become fashionably late. Fashionably late might be cool for, going to a hip party, but fashionably late for a business appointment just doesn't cut it. Imagine this, like let's say you have somebody that hosts an opportunity presentation, a business presentation every Tuesday night at whatever time, and it's at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and you're inviting your prospects there, and every single time the person rolls in at 6:15. That's not going to fly for very long. People are going to be pissed. The guests are going to be pissed. The people inviting guests are going to be pissed. It's just not going to work out well. So, if you, I don't know. I mean, some people just are always late because they're so disorganized. Well, that excuse doesn't cut it in business. You get yourself more organized. You get up a little bit earlier. You take a shower sooner. You do whatever you got to do so that you're there, because people don't do business with individuals. It's all about, like, kind of creating, like, this goodwill and this good feeling, right? So, I mean, even like doctors are kind of notorious for this. Like, you have a doctor's appointment at 11 o'clock, and there's like two of my medical people that I've worked with and I see on a regular basis for just keeping myself healthy. Both of them are really good about just, boom, your appointment's at 11, they're ready at 11, which is great. I mean, I love that. I had a previous doctor that I did business with it was like a family practitioner, and you'd have an appointment at 11, and finally they're out, hey, Todd, at like 11:45. And it's like, I got a busy day, man. Do I get to charge you for the 45 minutes that I was sitting in the waiting room because you can't keep on schedule? So, so as an example, like the doctor example, you got, 2 doctors I can think of right now that are there and they're on time all the time, but then other people aren't. Like, okay, if I had a choice, if there were two different doctors in the same line of doctoring, I don't think that's a word, but maybe it is. And one of them's always on time and the other one's always late, eventually I'm going to always go to the person that's on time. I don't know that there's anybody that appreciates somebody who's late. So, and then reverse the shoes for a second. What happens when you are, the person that's, you're sitting around waiting for somebody and they're always late? Do you continue to do business with them? Probably not. All right, number 3 is, a friend of mine used to say this: a promise made is a debt unpaid. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it. I mean, look, we all realize that stuff can happen and things can get in the way or unforeseen circumstances. And I think people will understand unforeseen circumstances in different scenarios that you might find yourself in. But, always making a promise and then not keeping your promise is just not cool. And it leads to, frustration, irritation. It leads to relationships being broken up. I can think of specifically a couple guys that I used to hang with. And this is just personal stuff, like not even business, that I don't hang with anymore because they just were, always making promises that they couldn't keep. So if you're a person that can't keep your promises, maybe you either this is the better version, you just step up and you keep your promises, or if you're not going to be able to keep your promise, you just don't make the promise. So, but again, these are uncommon. I call them uncommon. To me, it's common sense. But because I have experienced this so much in business, like where people don't do this, that's why I'm calling these things, uncommon sense practices or strategies. So again, as I'm going through this, I want you to think to yourself, like, wow, how does that make me feel when somebody, makes a promise and doesn't fulfill that promise in personal or business? Like I can clearly remember something that happened last year with my wife. She had some girl who, they had something that they were going to do. I don't even know what it was. And she got all dolled up and was ready to go out. And it's like 15 minutes before she's leaving the house. And her friend calls up and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just don't feel like it. And she wasn't sick. She wasn't any of those things. She was just like, had this big plan. And at the very last minute, just totally canceled the plan. I could see the deflation on my wife's face. And what does that make her? Does that make her more likely to want to go hang out with that person, or less likely? In fact, she has another, used to have a friend that would constantly make plans and then always cancel those plans. They don't hang out anymore. So bottom line, keep your promises. Number four is, what's the phrase? Under promise and over deliver. Okay. So if you can always make it your point to do more than is expected of you, you can't help but get ahead in school, high school, college, your job, your business, your, intimate relationships, your friendships, your everything. Like if you just make it your mission, like, hey, people expect this, but I'm always going to take it 5 steps further or 2 steps further or whatever, more than they expect from me. It wows people. That's like that little thing of just going the extra mile is something that it floors people, and it's interesting because I know, and I haven't done this for, 35 plus years, but I know this. It's not like I wouldn't know this. Like if somebody goes to work and they just do the bare minimums at work, your bosses see that. They realize that. You're like, oh, you're just kind of doing the minimums. You show up right at 9 and you leave right at 5, and you just barely, you're just keeping along enough to keep your job. But somebody who comes in and they show up at 7:30 and they leave at 5:30 and they hustle and they get more done, like those are people that get ahead. Quite very simply, like you can see that, okay, a person shows up at 9, the other and leaves at 5, they barely do stuff, versus the person that's always in there at 7:30, knocking stuff out, working and hustling. They stay a little later. And it doesn't even, even if we looked at, like, I call this like a 60-minute sandwich, right? 60-minute sandwich is like you add 30 minutes at the beginning of your day and you add 30 minutes at the end of your day. And you use that time for productive time. The compound effect of that over a year is phenomenal. And what do you do? It's not like you're like working 8 extra hours a day or you're extending your day by 4 hours. You're just, starting a little bit earlier and then ending a little bit later. So again, this whole post, this whole video or audio, if you're catching me on my podcast, is, look, just, sit in your chair, wherever you're at, listen to what I have to say, take some notes, do a little internal reflection, and go, what kind of guy or gal am I? Am I the person that's doing all these things, or could I stand to improve? And if you can stand to improve, then improve. It's just a simple thing. Again, I told you at the beginning of this, this is not complex. This is not rocket science. This is not this super, what's crazy, it's not like this super in-depth thing, but the difference it makes in your business is huge. Okay, so number, what was this? Is this number 5? I think it's number 5. Active listening. Okay, so how many times? Okay, especially if you're in a problem-solving environment, right? So you're in some type of sales. You're in real estate. You're in media sales. You're a network marketer. You're a whatever you are, and you have people that have problems or challenges in your product or service or services. Help people alleviate those problems. So we have to identify challenges, issues, frustrations, problems, and then help people through our whatever we have to offer to solve those problems. And how many times have you been sitting with somebody and you're like, you can tell it goes right in here and it goes right out there. So it's in one ear and then totally out the other ear. Like they didn't even hear what you said, or, excuse me for a second, but like I'm sitting here and you're talking to me and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah, I hear you. And clearly you're not listening. So, or you're sitting in a situation and you're, looking around and somebody's talking to you, but you're not even in eye contact. You're somewhere else. Like I use this phrase all the time, wherever you are, be there. Like if you're with your kids, be with your kids. If you're with your spouse, be with your spouse. If you're with your friends, be with your friends. If you're with a scheduled appointment with something in business, be there. Like don't, have your mind on the next meeting or what's going on the table over there. You want to be paying attention and actively listen, because the thing is, like somebody's going to tell you something. They're going to tell you something like that's really, important to them. It's going to be like this deep personal thing. They opened up to you, and the moment that they realize that you didn't hear what they just said, and they opened up your heart, and they opened up their heart, and they said something to you, and you just didn't hear it, that's no bueno. That's not a good sign. That's not going to lead you to success. That's going to lead you to losses. And the other thing about all of these strategies, all of them, is that we can't calculate potential future earnings or loss of earnings. So if we were in a traditional sales environment and you get this client, right, or you lose or get the client. You get the client, cool, you're doing business because you have all these great habits, or you lose the client and you don't do business with them, and you don't know like how much business they would have done with you over the next 3 to 5 years, 10 years down the road, how many other opportunities it would have presented, how many referrals you could have gotten from that person. You'll never know. It's an incalculable figure. And in the figure, again, because it's incalculable, we don't know. Could it be 7 figures that you lost because you just, either didn't listen or you were late or any of these things. So it's not, and the cool thing about all of these things, it's not hard. It's super easy to do each and every one of these uncommon sense success strategies. Number six is this concept of continuous, ongoing learning, okay? Always getting better, always being more knowledgeable, always understanding your clients' problems, challenges, issues that they're facing, always learning and understanding what it is that you offer in the marketplace and the unique selling proposition that it brings to the table, and adapting to shifts and changes in the marketplace and not staying stagnant. And it's funny because I know I'm talking to a lot of network marketers, but the thing is, even though we talk about the business model, network marketing is just that. It's a model of moving goods and services to end users, right? So it's a profession, right? But it's a business model, right? It's a methodology of moving goods and services to end users. And if you're not in tune, and in network marketing, or we talk about personal development and professional development. It's like one of the few professions where it's like a built-in feature of, hey, read the book, like read these books and attend these events and always be growing and, working on your mindset and working on your skill development. And the Japanese name for it is Kaizen, which means constant and never-ending improvement, right? So we all should be in that phase because, look, I mean, one thing you don't want to do is ultimately wake up one day and like go, oh crap, I'm no longer relevant. I've lost my relevance in the marketplace because I was lazy and I failed to get into this habit of continuous learning. Number 7, your mindset should be on cultivating relationships, okay? So again, this kind of goes back to, molds into some of these other things that I've already talked about today, but the thing that you want to be doing is you don't want to be the guy or girl that only calls and reaches out when you're ready to renew the contract. If that's you, that's bad news, man. That's not good. If like, okay, well, let's say we're talking about traditional selling for a second, okay? So I had a brief stint with my family's radio station way back in the day, selling ad campaigns, right? Selling advertising on a radio station. And let's say I'd signed somebody up for a 90-day contract. Well, the way I operated, okay, boom, I signed you up for a 90-day contract. You heard from me throughout the entire process, like, how are we doing? What's the traffic like? How are things? Are you happy with the results we're getting? Do we need to shift things? And I was always maintaining a relationship through the process. So when it came time for the renewal of the contract, I was already renewing that contract at, month 2, knowing we still had a full month on the contract, and they were way open to it because they're like, this guy cares. He gives a damn. And I also remember I competed with this guy, Jay. I never liked Jay. Jay was one of those guys that, just thought just because their companies, they had a few more listeners and that they were the number 1 radio station in town, that you should just do business with them and screw Falcone and his radio station. And I remember us sitting with this guy in this butcher shop, Joe, cool dude. Used to go fishing with this guy, used to go bass fishing with this guy, and Jay comes strolling in and just throws like a rate sheet in his hand. He goes, and a rating sheet, and he's like, oh, and I was like literally in the back of the counter with him, and he just shows up with this pompous attitude and throws a little rate sheet and rating sheet and had like my radio station circled. Why are you buying them? And there was no cultivating of relationships with Jay. And I won't tell you what Joe said, but he used the F word, and he just said, get the F out of my butcher shop. And he never did business with them. And here I am just like looking at him like, I don't know. So we were both kind of shaking our heads. And he hated the guy because he was all about the money, the relationship. You should buy us because we're the best. And it didn't work out very well for the guy. In fact, I smoked him in the market, which is a beautiful thing. And they were, ratings-wise, they were way better station in terms of numbers of listeners. But, in terms of volume of sales, I smoked Jay. Just because I was one of those guys that cultivated relationships. So look at your habits. Are your habits these habits that I'm sharing with you, or could you stand to make improvements? Number 8, transparency and honesty, okay? I don't know. It's kind of cool when somebody tells you the truth, or you are straightforward with somebody and say, look, man, whatever it is, hey, some people, hey, just so you know, when you're getting ready to take this product, we have a small percentage of people that, the first couple days they get a headache. And, if you get a headache, it's just your body's telling you, hey, man, you need to drink a little bit more water. And it's also probably telling you that, your body is detoxing and that you need this stuff. But if I don't tell you that up front and you have this headache the second day you take my product, you're going to stop taking the product. Oh, I'll tell you a quick funny story. I was speaking for my friend Eric in Salt Lake City, and they have this product that is like this really amazing. I'll just say this really amazing product. And I was like, I heard a story from someone. I didn't know it was in the product. I just heard the story, and I was like, dude, I want some of that. I want a canister of that. And he's like, cool. And so we arranged to give me a canister, and he tells me, and I'm just going to be, I don't know, I've done this on conference calls and Zoom, so it doesn't matter, but he says to me, he goes, Todd, he goes, listen to me. And I'm like, what? He said, bro, for the first week you take this product, don't trust a fart. And I'm like, what did you say? He said, don't trust a fart. I'm like, I thought that's what you said. He goes, look, I mean, here's the deal, bro. Like, first few days you take this stuff, it's going to probably upset your stomach. Like, a good percentage of people, they get the runs. And I'm like, okay, because it's just, that's the product kind of doing its thing. But once it settles in after a couple days, you're good to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. And I'm so glad that he told me, because I experienced the side effect that that product did for most people. And I'm so grateful that he was transparent and he was honest with me. So this goes across, you can just think about transparency and honesty. In what ways can I be transparent, real, straightforward, and honest with my clients, with my potential clients, with anybody that I want to do business with? And if you're that way, you never have to make shit up. You never have to make anything up, because you told the truth. And you were straightforward and you're real and you're honest, and people love that. You're going to do way more business as a result of that. Number 9, and this is a difficult one for network marketers in particular, okay? If you're a business owner, a traditional business owner where you have employees, then you're probably already doing a lot of this. But here's the thing, and I had to learn this personally, the hard way. So the idea of effectively delegating tasks and responsibilities. So the thing is, in particular as network marketers, most network marketers don't have employees. People that start to make a little bit of money, or people that are smart, realize like, hey, I can get a virtual assistant for very little money to deal with some of these busy tasks and responsibilities that actually don't make me money. It's not a bad idea, by the way. You don't have to be making 10 grand a month to get a personal VA or assistant to help you in doing things. Like, I would never hire a VA to do prospecting for me, but there's, there might be paperwork or ancillary responsibilities. Just look at the things in your business that, like, when you do them, you make money, and look at the things in your business that are just kind of busy stuff that don't really directly make you money right now. Like in particular in network marketing, selling, prospecting, inviting, presenting, those are the things that are like the money makers that I don't think can be really delegated, but there are definitely things that can be delegated. But again, the challenge for a lot of networkers, and when I went from network marketing to speaking, I was so used to doing all this stuff myself. Like truth be told, I never had a personal assistant or a VA as a network marketing distributor. Now, looking back, I should have. There was a lot of times I should have had a personal assistant to help me do stuff, and which would have freed up time for me to do, basically more business building activities. So consider that, But again, because most network marketers, it's like, I got to do all of my stuff. We don't have employees. Again, for the most part, most network marketers don't have employees, so they do everything. And when you do everything, you're not delegating anything. But look at, and again, this will make you more productive. If you sit down right now and go, okay, and by the way, you can get, here's the thing, you can get VAs from all over the world that are smart, hardworking, and you can get them, extremely cheap. I'm not going to get into specifically where you can do that, but you can honestly go Google VA for cheap or VAs for hire, and you can find that stuff. And they just look at your day, look at the things that you do in your business, and if you can delegate something, if it's like, hey, I don't really like doing this anyhow. But here's the thing. You can't be, don't be thinking you're going to be delegating your prospecting. It's never going to happen, okay? That's one activity you're not going to delegate, but there are things that you can delegate, and that's going to, like I said, free up your time for more productive activities, and, you're going to love the fact that you did it. And truth be told as well, very few people actually do it, but when they do, they're like, man, this is awesome. And number 10, we're at the end of the list today. So how do I want to put this? I guess embracing feedback. So anytime that you can get good, solid feedback, and not be in this position where you think like I always have room for improvement. Okay. It goes back to, again, Kaizen, constant and never ending improvement. I always have room for growth. you get to a point, and like sometimes, especially in I don't know, in sales and network marketing, where people are at the very top of their game, sometimes they think they've got nothing to learn, and the ego is one of the biggest killers of business. Okay, I mean honestly, it's one of the biggest killers of your business. And as the what's the right word that I want to use, because I don't want to use the OLD word, but as the wise ancient guy that's been in the space for as long as I have given feedback to friends of mine in the business. Sometimes the feedback is widely accepted and they're grateful and they're thankful, but sometimes it falls on deaf ears. I can think of 2 people right now that were, 100,000+ a month at the time, and they were just rolling, and the money was just flying, and it was being spent on this car and these things and just rolling in suits and jewelry and just whew. And I was like, my one friend, I was like, bro, dude, you're like, the run never lasts forever. That's another thing. Just so you know, if you're going to vertical run, you don't go vertical for an infinite period of time. So, like, save for a rainy day, always a good thing. Socking money aside, putting money, investing money away. And what's interesting is sometimes when I've given feedback, like I remember he was just like, yeah, whatever, dude, blah blah blah, blah. And he just like didn't even want to hear it. Like, again, falling on deaf ears. And then he came back to me like a year and a half later. He's like, dude, like, I should have listened to you. I'm so, like, kicking myself in the rear end that I didn't listen to you, because, like, I'm, like, trying to sell stuff to make ends meet, and it's insane. I, like, blew so much money, and I was like, I didn't say I told you so. In my mind, I was like, I told you so, but I didn't say it. So I don't know. I think in business, we always want to be improving. We always want to be getting better. And I would just suggest that you do your best to, get feedback, embrace the feedback, and either you get feedback that's cool, that you're like, hey, you're on the right track, or maybe you get feedback that you're not in the right direction and you need to make some course adjustments, and that's cool. And then just, embrace that feedback, make the necessary adjustments, and move forward. And again, continue to keep on growing. So again, 10 uncommon sense success strategies for helping you just crush it in your business. And as you can tell, now that I've finished the list, you guys can do all this stuff. But the question is, are you doing all of this stuff? If you're not, then you got room for improvement. You can make changes based on what you just heard today. So, hey, if you're on my podcast, what's up, my podcast listeners? I appreciate you guys. If you're on my YouTube channel, or anywhere else for that matter, and you're not on toddfalcone.com, that's the place where the conversation takes place. You can come on over here for this episode, toddfalcone.com /episode 257. That's TODDFALCONE.com /episode 257. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Make use of these strategies, and we'll see you around.